The starting point is important. The foundation has to be right in everything we do. If the foundation doesn't fit the house, there will be cracks, and in the worst case, the house will collapse. And filling these cracks over and over again is exhausting, expensive, and also looks very ugly. Therefore, everyone needs orientation in a reliable foundation, especially at the beginning of his life or her life. This is logic, right? On such a foundation, you then can act correctly and thus live a fulfilling life. But living a fulfilling and successful life does not only mean accumulation of material things and money. That's part of it, by the way, but only up to a certain point. There are, again, the three things, the three factors that simply belong to your and to every life, whether you like it or not. Here's a link to the exact definition. That's the reason why, as a rule, before a family is started, more money will be spent than afterwards. Of course, you are alone and you have to express yourself. That's because you want to find someone who is a perfect match for you, who will be by your side for life and who will support you, who you can support without getting into moral, emotional or any other problems, just to start a family and get the species going. But that also means that you are not a phony, that you express your true self, express yourself according to your personality, and if you do that, then you are also attract the right people. And so you have a good chance of finding the right partner. Why? So that you are independent in the medium term, maybe even in the short term. Independent of your work and the propaganda around you, so that you can live more freely. And above all, you can invest more time in yourself, your personality and your family and friends. In order to then build on this foundation sensibly, and it doesn't have to be a palace of pomp and showmanship. It can also be a simple bungalow or be a condominium. But don't make the mistake of not worrying about anything other than your living situation. Because always rebuilding, always setting up new, etc. creates nothing of value. You should keep thinking about values. Because now you have time to focus on something new. Because nothing is worse than, and nothing happens to so many people these days, nothing is worse than standing still and doing the same thing on the hamster wheel over and over again. This is not good for you. I provide the proof of this statement here in this video. You can watch it. Because this is about how the brain works, or rather the structure of our nervous system. And from that you can already read what is most important for the nervous system and thus for the living being, and how its function is. That's how simple and fundamental scientific knowledge can be, if you look at it in the right context. By the way, I also have a good video about the metaframe, because the metaframe is the second most important instrument in our consciousness. And just like in our species, also relatively unique in the realm of living beings. And then after some time, it's time to have children. Because most important thing, preserving the species, is the most important task of nature and evolution. If you don't do this, then at some point in your life, deep down, you will become very unhappy. And to be able to continue growing, because all other experiences that you can have without children are all just repetitions of experiences that you already had before. They may look different on the surface, but actually on a deeper level they are always the same. What can it be about? Just money, work, consumption and power. At some point it makes no sense to want to keep them to yourself. In the end, you simply can't take them with you, and maybe at best give them to your descendants. But as with you, your descendants do not need it either. On the contrary, they can become disabled and burdened if they become too caught up in materialism. Your descendants are just like you, and you want your children to get a little further than you, don't you? That is evolution, and meanwhile we have arrived at mental evolution. Everything is designed for evolution to progress. We cannot defend ourselves against it. So, and with material evolution you can only buy freedom to a certain degree. Peace of mind that you have something to eat, a place to live. Maybe your future is fundamentally secured, but the future hasn't been written yet, and so it's just an illusion, rather hopes. You have to constantly rewrite the future. The role is the goal. The route is the goal. Make the right decision in the here and now based on the past. That doesn't mean that once you've made a decision, it can't be overturned. That's what it's all about, not getting stuck in old patterns. I know it may sound a little bit complicated, but it's not. Once you tried it and done it for a while, you will understand. What is, of course, very important is controlling your fear. This has been a key factor for millennia. Unfortunately, for thousands of years, fear has been the means of choice for oppression, propaganda, greed for money and power. But if you are not afraid, because you know yourself and because you know how you fit into this universe, then you no longer need to be afraid, because you have an image of your future. Your world, and nobody has this image of you. No one could steal it from you or erase it. Only you can do that. And then no fear arises in you either. You can also find a nice video on how fear arises and what fear is there for and what it is not there for in the description. And what's bad about fear, you can't control it and it can block you. In any case, you have to try to face it and face your fears as much as possible and get them under control. You have to force your fears for that. Otherwise, fear will grow. The greatest fear we humans have probably developed when we are children and try to distance ourselves is the fear of loss. And here, the fear of even losing your life. Therefore, you should deal with death. More precise, with your own death. As early as possible. The Freemasons already do this in the rite of initiation, and I would recommend it to everyone, even that I am not a Freemason. But all these basics, these foundations, have been taken from us by society in the past, and it is still going on. We are no longer allowed to practice important rituals, and if so, then only approved rituals that are in churches or political organizations. But mind-expanding rituals have long been punished with burning and relegated to the corner of drug addicts or the socially disadvantaged. But rituals are very important to realizing the self I'm talking about, and that's why I'm giving you this food for thought, because you may no longer have the ability to realize these things yourself in a normal, natural way. In my opinion, that is the reason why it has to be taught in schools again these days. Because what we as humanity are doing at the moment definitely cannot go on like this. And I'm not the only one claiming and observing this. The leading scientists of our species have seen and drawn attention to this for 100 years. From Alexander Humboldt to Albert Einstein, we cannot solve problems with the thinking we used to create them. Stephen Hawking gave humanity at most 100 years on this planet if we don't change anything. And if we open our eyes and look, then we all can see how climate change and the lust for power and politicians around the world are doing. What are the most important goods on the planet? There's also a video if you're interested. So you now have a rough idea of what is important in your development, and what is even better, perhaps you already have an idea of where you can get these informations, these important informations and clues for your life. And if you know that, so you liked the video. You understood it partially or completely. If it is so, then you click maybe on the like button and share this video with as many people as possible, and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss anything, so that this information don't pass by you. And if they weren't important to you at the moment, they may be important to you in the future. Of course, you are also welcome to visit the website www.mentis.tv, because you will find much more there. Thanks for watching and see you soon.